Hello there, it's a good day. Today we're looking at Roman numerals. To begin with, recall that a numeral is a symbol that represents a number. There are two from primary. You'll find Roman numerals on clock faces, on watches to tell time, and that therefore implies that if you do not know what Roman numeral represents which number, it may be difficult for you to tell time. Not only that, we use Roman numerals for paginating books, that is on pages of books, to list items. We also use Roman numerals in names. Take, for example, the Chavazingo of Busoga, William Gabola Nadiope the fourth. I hope you see the Roman numeral 4 in the name. You will find other names, names of movies, names of places, addresses using Roman numerals, but also in some way found Roman numerals written on currencies. The Ugandan currency, for example, has numerals, Roman numerals written on them as well. So knowing how Roman numerals are used in our daily life and knowing that pupils will encounter them in one way or the other, we need to teach them the Roman numerals. Now, it is believed from existing literature, of course, that the Romans developed and used these numerals between 900 and 800 BC. It is for that reason that I think they're called Roman numerals. And it is interesting to know that the Romans started counting using their hands, and the basic Roman numerals, the few that I know, are said to have been inspired by the human hand. Take, for example, one stick for one finger to represent one. The same implies for 2 sticks, 3 sticks. And when we stretch out our palm, we form a V shape, giving us the 5 fingers with a V between the thumb and the pointing finger for 5. But there are other basic Roman numerals. We have already said that 1 stick represents 1, V represents 5, but then X represents 10. It is believed that this is a combination of 2 hands with the palms stretched out, having a V on one side and a V on the other side, from which we count the 10 fingers to give us 10. Then we have L for 50, C for 100, D for 500, and N for 1,000. It is from these basic symbols that the other Roman numerals are written using a particular system. But before we look at that particular system, let's look at some activities a teacher may need for the learners to practice, to master these numerals. In one of my classes, I decided to use appropriate body parts to show numerals. It was interesting. My learners came up with unthinkable ways of expressing the basic numerals. For example, in this picture, we can see M represented in a particular way. They had very many other ways, and it was a lot more fun. You could try it for their practice, and it will do them well. You could also do molding of the numerals. You can, for example, use an activity in which the learners use a wire or clay to mold specific numerals. This will give them tons of practice, and in turn, the practice will enable them to easily remember which numeral represents which value. In another activity that I did, that I gave my learners, the learners used sticks, seeds, to form numerals, like you're seeing here. It gave them practice, it gave them time to master the numerals, and when it came time for using the numerals, it was that easy. Another activity that the learners can do is matching the numerals. You could use the words for the value. You could also use the non-Hindu Arabic numeral matched with the other numerals. You could do them in a shuffled manner, not rather a systematic manner, for more and more practice. You could also have learners trying out air writing, writing on the ground, writing on slates, and writing in their books. Now, it is important for you to note that some activities are more appropriate for lower class learners and others appropriate for upper class learners. For example, it may be appropriate for both upper and lower to air write, but it may not be appropriate for upper to write on slates as well as writing on the ground. Writing on slates and writing on the ground will be reserved for lower classes. Not only that, different classes use different numerals, as in our system allows for building on what is already learned. That therefore means you're not going to do all the symbols in one class. For example, primary 4 allows for only up to 20, the Roman numeral XX, whereas primary 6 allows for up to the Roman numeral symbol M for 1,000. So you see, there is a difference as the learner progresses from class to class. The learner builds on what is already known, and the learner learns a new numeral each class he or she goes to. But this should not be taken for granted, because they may reach another class when they have forgotten the other numerals, just simply because they never had enough practice. But with these activities done, it will do very well. There are many more other activities you could try out that would work for you. Now, like we said, we need to write the numerals. The Romans decided on 3 basic ways of writing their numerals. The first one is rewriting a numeral up to a maximum of 3 times. This allows us to write numbers 2, 3, 20, 30, 200, 300, 2000, to mention but a few. Please note that the maximum number a numeral can be repeated is only 3. Also note that some numerals cannot be repeated to get another numeral. For example, you cannot write LL for 100 because C already represents 100. Neither can you write D for 1,500 because the DD for 1,000 can be represented by N. So some numerals cannot be repeated. But in the process of repeating the numeral, we add the values. And this is the same for other numerals, adding the values. In adding values of the Roman numerals, a smaller value numeral is written on the right-hand side of a large value numeral, like in the case of the numbers 11, 115, 660. Look at 115. The V is written on the right-hand side of X, implying that 5 plus 10 gives us 15. But also, XV is written on the right-hand side of C, implying that 15 is added to 100 to get 115. The Romans also agreed that they could represent some numerals by subtracting, and in this situation, they wrote a smaller value numeral on the left-hand side of a larger value numeral. Like in the case of the numbers 9, 90, and 400, herein we see that X was written before C to give us 90, meaning that 10 was subtracted from 100 to get 90. Likewise, C is written on the left side of D to give us 400, meaning that 100 is subtracted from 500 to give us 400. It is though important to note that in the process of subtracting, only one numeral can be subtracted from another numeral at a time. Also, you cannot subtract a number from a numeral that is 10 times larger than it. Otherwise, you would be breaking the laws and you would write your numerals in a wrong manner. Let's see, how can we try out writing these numerals? What steps can we follow? And in this case, we shall take an example. In case we want to rewrite the number 2948, we need to break down that number into its composite values. That means 2948 will be rewritten with knowledge of place values, of course, as 2000 plus 900 plus 40 plus 8. But none of these values can be written using the basic Roman numerals. We therefore need to break down the composite values further using rewritable units. And that implies that 2000 will be written as 1000 plus 1000, 900 will be written as 1000 minus 100, 40 will be written as 50 minus 10, and 8 will be written as 5 plus 3. These values then can be written using the non-Roman numerals as mm plus cm plus xl plus v I. We finally merge the Roman numerals by removing the addition signs to rewrite 2948 as cm xl v I. You need more practice on this. Therefore, get random values, at least in thousands, represent them using Roman numerals, change them from Roman numerals to the Hindu Arabic numerals. You could practice using all the three laws, using one law at a time, two laws, and it will do you better. We need to know that Roman numerals have their own shortfalls. For example, they do not use 0. maybe it is an advantage to them, but they don't use 0. Also, they do not specify ways of writing fractions. So I wonder how one could write fractions using the Roman numerals. I need to be advised on that. But also, writing very large numbers may be difficult, although not impossible. And reading a number in numeral form may be tedious. You may need to convert it from its form to the commonly used Hindu-Arabic form to tell it. For example, how long will it take you to read this number, its value? Let's see. How long? Some time, of course, but it is equal to 3,489. So the process of reading this value is tedious. That said, I would like you to try out this activity as a teacher. A primary 6 pupil writes the number 499 using Roman numerals as ID. The question here is the pupil right or wrong? But if the pupil is wrong, what mistake did the learner do? And which steps can you follow as a teacher to help this pupil correctly rewrite the number 499 using Roman numerals? Think about learning difficulties that primary school learners are likely to encounter when rewriting numbers using Roman numerals. As a teacher, if you anticipate challenges, difficulties that learners will face in the process of learning, it makes it easier for you to help them overcome those problems, those challenges. Therefore, go on and suggest ways learners can overcome the identified difficulties. I read these references, and part of this work is built from the work of these guys. It has been really helpful. Thank you for your time. If you have a concern, if you have a question, you could reach me out using this email. Thank you so much.